Hi, how's it going? I hope you had a good weekend. How was it? Yeah, that's nice. So I saw Rocky versus Drago. Now, there are certain movies I consider the definition of their time period. Rocky 4 is one of these movies. For those who don't know, Rocky versus Drago is a recut version of Rocky 4 that Sylvester Stallone has been making over the COVID days. So it's finally released. It's really good. I mean, it's good if you're a Rocky fan already. If you're not a Rocky fan and you're straight up coming into the series, like with this movie, it might just be the best movie to come into the series with, aside from the first movie. But Rocky 4 is a movie that everybody needs to see in their lifetime at least once. Because to me, it's the pinnacle of everything 80s. You have these two gigantic macho men just battling it out. You have so many one-liners.
I must break you.
And you have montages. Don't even get me started with the montages. This movie is the montage king, and it kind of killed that whole idea for a while. It's almost like this movie is a parody of itself when it comes to montages. At least a third of the entire film is just montage, and I'm not joking. But anyway, today I'm just going to kind of talk about Rocky 4, Rocky vs. Drago, Ultimate Director's Cut. 2021. So there's no need for me to really review Rocky 4. Either you have seen it or you haven't. Either way, I'm just going to kind of talk about this movie. If you haven't seen Rocky 4, go see it. If you have, stick around and I'm just going to kind of go over what was different about this movie and what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. So roughly, it's the exact same story. It's pretty much the exact... Wait, hold on a minute. Wait, what was the original runtime? Hold on, did they even add anything to this movie? Well, they did. Basically, Sylvester Stallone wanted to add some new footage to the movie and kind of recut things the way he originally imagined the movie. Now, you think this would be a good thing, but as you can see with the runtime, it's not really that extended. It's more that scenes got replaced with other longer scenes and some scenes got cut out entirely. And it's so close to the original movie anyway that it's very hard to pick up these little scenes. So basically what I'm going to do first is look through the movie and tell you what I thought at least stood out as different to me from my knowledge of Rocky 4. And then I'm going to go over the striking differences that I didn't pick up on. So the first one that I noticed for sure that I think most people already knew about, but if you didn't because maybe you saw Rocky 4 a long time ago, the robot scene. Happy birthday, Polly. That's right. There was a robot in Rocky 4, and everybody, I guess, forgot about it for a while or something. But there is a robot in Rocky 4. Why? Because this movie is the pinnacle of the 80s. This is everything I love about these type of 80s movies. It's just so off the rails. But anyway, like the robot scene, the entire birthday party scene is gone. Which is weird, because, like, that means that Rocky's son never had his scene either. And as far as I remember, Rocky's son only gets one scene in this cut of the movie. It's just, and maybe something at the beginning briefly, but it's just Rocky talking to his son in his bedroom before going to Russia. That's right. That means that they cut out that whole end part where his son is watching the fight from TV with his friends. Why would they remove that? They might as well have just removed the son entirely from the movie. It's so weird. It's like they didn't know what to do with him. But in the original cut, it works. So I don't know why he took that out. Anyway, that bothered me. Like I said before, this movie is mostly just montages. I think the ending half is just montage, little scene in between, another montage, training scene, Adrian comes to the rescue, another montage that's the actual fight, and then in the original movie, there's just a brief serious moment right after that, and it's over. That's it. That's the whole Rocky 4. It just ends right there. So hopefully they extended more of the ending, so you get kind of some closure. No, they didn't. There's nothing extra. It just ends right there again. But the actual fight, though the montage is still there, the actual fight itself is way longer than in the original cut of Rocky 4. And I think that's what really most fans wanted to see anyway. That's what was lacking, for me at least, in the original cut of Rocky. That the fight is built up so much through the movie, and then it just kind of goes through a montage and he just, whatever, it just happens, has its like final round and that's it. But in this, they're like beating the shit out of each other for a long time. It's really good. And it's a shame they cut all of that out from the original. Okay, for some reason, it's almost impossible to find just a straight result of what the actual differences are between the director's cut and the original cut. So I'm just going to refer to this thread on Reddit, aka09. You're in my video. Thank you so much for your contribution. Oh, and you can check this out on the movie subreddit. Oh, right. So at the beginning of the movie in the original cut, there's this whole exploding glove sequence, and it's the best way to start the movie off. That really just already exclaims, this is this type of 80s movie. That's out entirely. So I guess the whole idea when this recut is that he kind of wanted a more serious tone to the movie. Hence the robot being cut out. And it seems like there's a little more scenes with Apollo kind of giving his little backstory about how he feels like he's a fighter who has no more fights to fight. But that's kind of his purpose in life. Maybe it wasn't extended. I don't know if I'm remembering it wrong. It seems like the movie had more emphasis on that portion of the movie, though.
We're changing. Maybe you think you're changing. But you can't change what you really are.
Another thing. You should know this going in if you haven't seen the movie. I said 1/3 of the movie is montages. You would assume that means 2/3 of the rest of the movie is plot and exposition. No, that's just like another third of the movie. The first third of the entire movie is literally the ending of Rocky 3. Not even just the ending. It's it's pretty much the whole final fight. And then the ending. And it sucks because they removed a really cool, iconic scene with Apollo Creed and Rocky where they fight. You know the part ding ding? Why would they include so much of Rocky 3 and then take that out? That's so weird. What a weird decision. That's such a good scene too. I love it. But anyway, from reading this, apparently the whole Rocky 3 segment was extended. So that's like a third of the movie that's Rocky 3. A third of the movie that's just montages, which I'm not complaining about. They're great. And then like a third of the movie of plot. Oh, and all of this is only contained within like an hour and a half, by the way. So it's just like half hours of each section. It's so bizarre, but I mean, this is what you come for, right? Where do you think we are? We're watching Rocky. Oh, okay. So the only other thing I really pick up from here is that there was a scene during the press conference where the reporter asked Drago,
"You have any feelings on it?"
And he's just like,
No.
aside from that, the differences are so minor, but it's just kind of like the same thing, just recut again. But it's a reason to watch Rocky 4, and why not? Oh, and regardless of any of the recut anyway, this is just a re-release of Rocky 4 remastered. Like they reprocessed the film for this. So it looks like a brand new movie. It looks like it was made yesterday, which is kind of interesting because everybody's dressed and looks like they're from the 80s, but it looks like high quality like footage from today. It's really cool, and you only get this type of treatment on very certain like Blu-ray re-releases. A lot of them are just like refilmed at 4K, but they're not reprocessing the film or remastering it. But anyway, where was I? Oh, right. So Rocky 4. Yeah, so it's just a remaster of Rocky 4. And because the first third of the movie is Rocky 3, you also get the Rocky 3 remastered footage, which is also the best part because it's the final fight anyway. Now, one thing I do want to talk about that I was disappointed that the movie didn't do was, well, first to explain, there's kind of this fan opinion about Rocky 4 that Drago is actually the good guy. The theory basically goes that all Drago wanted was to be a champion. He sacrificed so much of his life working as hard as he could, and even rising up through the ranks just to be offered this position to fight a real champion in the US. And he finally does. And everybody hates him. All he wants to do is show that he's an equal footing to everybody else. And they hate him even more because of the result of the first fight. So this is why I never really understood why Rocky they make him out to take revenge almost. It makes sense, but at the same time, Apollo Creed knew what he was getting into. Look at the size of Ivan Drago. Look how powerful he is. How can you watch that on TV and be like 20 years older than him and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight this guy, that's no problem. And yeah, I know it was done before. Shout out to Big George Foreman. But come on, this is supposed to be a Russian Superman from the 80s. But anyway, so given this theory, I was kind of at least hoping that if they didn't follow through with it, they would at least show some more scenes with Ivan Drago and his wife. I hoped that maybe they recorded some extra footage with scenes with them. They even cut out the part where his wife talks to Apollo Creed's wife at the beginning. Like, why did they do that? She's barely in any scenes now. She's just a background character. And they like purely focus on that other Russian representative guy instead. Although at the end, I think there is an extension of the post-fight, and Rocky actually does bump Drago on the gloves after the fight when leaving the ring. So at least there's that acknowledgement. That was just a missed opportunity. I mean, what can they do, right? If there wasn't any footage, there wasn't any footage. But maybe he did try to cut it that way, but there just weren't any scenes for it. But I wish they could have at least showed them in a better light. Especially since Creed 2 kind of just like solidified Ivan Drago as just a generic bad guy. And you thought, oh, maybe he would get some more like character development, but he didn't get anything. And I don't know. I thought he would get something in this. I guess not. But anyway, it's an excuse to watch Rocky 4. There's no reason not to. It's an excuse to watch a great 80s movie. It's an excuse to watch a totally remastered old movie, which is always fun. So give Rocky vs. Drago a go. I wouldn't say rush for it, especially if you've seen Rocky 4 recently. It's really not that different, but at some point, get around to it, because everybody should watch this movie a couple times in their life. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching.